Hi, I'm Kristi Mitchell, and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing, the podcast where we talk about what really happens when marketing doesn't go according to plan. Every week, I sit down with business owners and leaders to unpack the missteps, the experiments that didn't land, and the decisions they'd probably rethink if given a do-over. But more importantly, we talk about what they learned on the other side and what you can take with you as you build your own business. Success rarely comes from getting it right the first time. It comes from taking action, making mistakes, adjusting, and showing up again and again. If you've ever wondered whether you're the only one figuring this out as you go, you're in the right place. This week, I am so excited to welcome Neil Carroll to the show. Neil is the founder of VidWheel and creator of Root Thread, a testimonial video service rooted in customer insights. With nearly 2 decades in video and storytelling, he has helped organizations grow from early-stage startups to universities to established enterprises, including a unicorn tech company. Through Root Thread, Neil helps businesses identify their most extraordinary clients, the ones who best demonstrate fit, value, and impact, and then captures their authentic voice through guided conversations. The result is more than just polished video. It's stories that build trust, uncover insights, and give companies the traction they need to grow, along with a library of marketing content they can put to work immediately. Neil's mission is simple: to surface the stories that matter most to your business and turn them into strategic assets for growth. With that, I will welcome Neil to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I am great, and I am excited for this conversation today. Before we came on, we were racking our brains trying to figure out how the heck we met, because we realized it's been like 4 years that we've been each other's worlds. So what we realized through scrolling back through LinkedIn DMs is that you reached out to me on LinkedIn. So you found me somehow.
I think I saw your content, right?
Yes.
We have some overlapping connections and circles, and
we do.
It spoke to me, so I reached out.
And I'm sure you remember exactly what piece of content it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I'm sure I do too. I'll think about
something about marketing funnels or something. Well, no, but what's funny is when we were talking about this before we came on the air, you were like, yeah, and you responded, like, right? Isn't that such the case with LinkedIn, especially? I mean, even more so these days than probably 4 years ago, is like sending the outreach, but then someone actually connecting. And look, here we are 4 years later, still in each other's worlds and finding ways to collaborate.
Yeah. I mean, that is an important piece, right? And I'm guilty of it too, right? Like, you just, so often that outreach it has no good intentions, right? It's just they're going to hit you with an immediate pitch or try to sell you something you have no need for. So, sometimes you just ignore, but sometimes it really works out. So here's the success story.
It does. Yes. And I'm so glad. And I remember thinking, like, wait a minute, how do we have so many mutual connections and you're right up the road in Buffalo from Rochester and we've never met before? Like, that was crazy to me. So shout out to content and LinkedIn for connecting people together.
There you go. You say the right things, you make that connection with people, and
and you invest the energy in the relationship, and here we are having you on my podcast. So I am excited for this conversation today. When we talked about you coming on the show, we talked about a common mistake that you see in the marketing world in terms of testimonials. And it's one that you even experienced yourself. So take us back to kind of wherever you want to start the story, honestly, in terms of what you were doing, realization that you had, and where it went from there.
Sure. Yeah. So I usually go back to when I'm talking testimonials and the impact they can have. You mentioned the tech startup that we did a lot of work with. And that project was just one that really changed things, right? So very early on, that startup, one of the founders brought me in to create testimonials for them, right? And I thought we were going to do the same thing, that is often done with testimonials. We get somebody saying something nice about the company and you make a little polished video and put it up there. But it kind of turned into something very different as I started having like more in-depth conversations with these very early adopters who had tons of insight on, typical use cases for the software, the features they liked, the features they didn't care about, other things like that. It pretty quickly revealed itself that there was a lot more there than just, nice phrases and, happy thoughts about the company. And a lot of that actually made its way into that company, kind of finding product market fit and everything. Because after the testimonial conversations, I would have a candid conversation with the founder that I was working with. And they would, ask about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and if things were landing the way they wanted them to, and there was just so much insight in there that just goes so far beyond what most people use testimonial for. So I know I was guilty of it beforehand. We would have a little text snippet, Neil does a great job or something. Those types of things, and they just don't carry a lot of weight, or they don't carry as much weight as you could get out of those conversations in terms of like really powerful marketing assets.
Yeah, I love that, right? When we like have this realization working with a client, and then it allows us the chance to even look at our own marketing and be like, I could do a better job at that.
Yes.
So I would love to know, Neil, kind of looking back prior to this realization that you had in this experience with this specific client, prior to that, what was your method for collecting testimonials for your own business?
So I think I fell into a similar spot that a lot of people would, right? Where maybe I'd shoot out an email after a completed project and be like, hey, can you give us a review here on Google or something like that? And you'd get a little text tidbit, no guidance from myself or staff, just can you say something nice, right? Which is, there is some value in that, right? If somebody puts a good couple of star review and they say something nice, it's not like it's worth nothing, but you can go.
It's better than nothing.
Yes. Yes. But you can go so much deeper, right? Like, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but if you have another, like one of your clients describe the exact situation that a prospect is experiencing and how you were able to fix this problem for them, then deal's more or less done. They've found the solution they were looking for. So a lot of what we do currently with testimonials is we structure the interviews and we help the clients find the end users that have these really powerful customer stories, and we find people who can tell the customer stories, because all these pieces have to align to get a really high quality, impactful testimonial piece that you can use all over your business.
Right. So when I think about testimonials, and I think about like even clients that I've worked with, some of them do have written testimonials, like you're saying, because someone said something nice, or they sent, a survey or something afterwards and got like a nicely written, right? It's like, oh, that was so great. Like you're saying, kind of that surface level. So I would say like doing that is better than nothing at all. Sure. And especially getting them posted on Google Business, LinkedIn recommendations, wherever people can leave online reviews for you. That's a good start. But like you said, it's like that kind of just like open-ended, not really like guiding them at all. So what do you see as a better approach from, like, I'm just thinking of listeners in the show, right? Like some people are probably not getting any testimonials at all. So it's like, okay, this is your wake-up call. You need to start getting testimonials. Some people are doing that kind of, simple outreach, asking for a written testimonial. What is like the next evolution? Like what's the next step that someone should be taking? Or if they want to go from zero to like doing it really well, just skip that middle step.
Well, first I'll reference, we have a blog post on our site called the hierarchy of testimonials, right? And this is an
Oh,
old one
awesome.
that's had it's been predates us meeting, right? So it's I want to say like 7 or 8 years online. Um,
Wow.
but it essentially talks about like the lowest level of testimonial is that anonymous, you know, say something nice type testimonial. And then you can add a
Mm-hmm.
little to it by putting a picture and name by it. And then you can add
Mm.
even more by, well, now I'm messing it up, but I think the next one's a picture. Then the next one's a picture with a name that's like a verifiable real person. And then the top of that hierarchy is video, hearing from that actual person in their own
Mm.
language, seeing their facial expressions and, kind of gauging their emotional response and so on through video. So that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
is a good way to look at it and where you can start to where you could kind of finish. I guess the one that we leave out is that, if you have a client who's really into your business and you can get them to do face-to-face meetings, that would be even above video, right? So,
Mm. But do you
door-to-door
record that
sales
so
or
then you
something.
have it?
I've never done that. That's just on the fly. That would be even higher on the hierarchy. But so I guess those are the levels that we kind of look at that you could
Yeah.
think about. And then if somebody wants to go from 0 to the top of that hierarchy, um, I do run a workshop once a month. At this point, we're doing it once a month. That is called the Extraordinary Client Workshop. And in this workshop, you analyze your own client list,
Mm-hmm.
and you do some evaluation on these clients and come up with the ones that are the best fit to create impactful testimonials, to like capture really impactful stories. So
Yeah.
that would be a way to get an easy head start if you haven't started anything yet, and kind of
Yeah.
start making some good testimonials.
Yeah. I love that point about, because I was just thinking kind of like the content itself, right? Like how meaty is that testimonial from like, yeah, it was great working with Neil. He's awesome.
Right.
To like, before I started work. So it actually made me think of something that I've done. And I have pretty much only done like the outreach, like, text based.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I ask for video or audio testimonials, which I want to talk about that in a second, because I think people are intimidated to do it. But one thing I started to do in the written testimonial was ask like basically fill in the blank. So like, because sometimes I think it's hard for clients to think about what all they would say, and if they love you and they love like the result they got from working with you, they want to do a really good job. And so they might be like, I don't really know what to say. Like, I know I had a great experience. So what I would do is I gave them kind of like a fill in the blank, like before I started working with Kristi, like this, after or as a result of working with Kristi, this is kind of where I'm at now. Do you suggest things like that, or like open-ended questions and things to help kind of give some parameters and framework to it?
Yeah, that can be really helpful, right? It's not anybody's fault when you send them a nondescript message and say, "Hey, can you give us a testimonial?" Right? They're going to do what they think you want, and if you don't define it, then it's more than likely just going to be, "I love working with Kristi," and no why, and no contrasting statements about where they started and where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, unless maybe if they're a marketing person and they're like, I know how to do this, they might do it that way. But if you just leave it up to hey, it'd be great if you could help me and do this, then they're
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna do that. So to answer the question there, I mean, give guidance, right? Fill in the blank is a great way to do it. I always am trying to capture that story of transformation in the ones that I do. So, where did you start? What were the problems? Where did you finish? And, if you start to structure it a little bit more like that, you can create a pretty compelling story arc. And then the
Right.
other tip that I'd give anybody if you're doing like a longer form interview is you have all your prepared questions. Be prepared to go a little deeper too, right? Somebody says
Mm-hmm.
something interesting. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, I want more on that. Let's keep talking about it.
Yeah.
But the last question I always ask in every one of my interviews is just open ended, right? It's like, hey, we've been having a conversation. We've been talking about this for 15 or 20 minutes or whatever it is. Is there anything else? And it seems like a silly, weird question, but like the sound bites you get out of that one, right? After people are primed to be thinking about things, maybe they came
Yeah.
in with some, some idea that they wanted to get out there. Like you can just get absolute gold with that open-ended question at the end.
Oh, I
So,
love that. That's such a great tip. So I'm almost thinking about it, Neil, like twofold, because I didn't even think about the aspect that you said earlier, where it's like, okay, a written testimonial is kind of the, like that blog that you were talking about, the hierarchy of like, okay, just a written testimonial with nobody's name or picture. And then you add more credibility by adding like name, title, photo of the person. And then you add even more credibility if it's like an audio testimonial or a video testimonial, something like that. So I love thinking about it from that standpoint. And then there's like the other layer of like, what are they actually saying? And is it surface level, or is it really digging in deeper to tell that story of transformation?
right. Yeah. And I will say that's a big piece of our current service in this space too, is whenever we conduct these testimonial interviews, um, I will write up a report that called the root thread report, right? That whole branding is about digging deep to that main thread, that main storyline that these clients are trying to convey about your business. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we run when we run the interviews, we create this report that's like a 10-page report, and it's pulling out, sound bites and like emotional cues and other bits and pieces, and how these kind of thoughts kind of come together, and maybe they
Mm-hmm.
they keep talking about a specific aspect and things like that. And so you can really go deep, right? Much deeper than, well, they told me they really liked how this service made them this much extra money. Like you can get
Mm-hmm.
into and find out pretty quickly that they were, I don't know, scared about outreach for marketing, and now you've brought them peace of mind, or they're feeling more
Mm-hmm.
confident, and like some of the less black and white but more impactful things are kind of hidden in the
Yes.
language very often. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that point about, yeah, like the qualitative versus quantitative, right? Like I'm a big numbers
yes,
person. I love data. But sometimes that's hard. Sometimes businesses aren't tracking it. Sometimes it's, we haven't given it enough time yet to see those quantitative results, but those qualitative results are huge. Those transformations, I hear that from my clients all the time. Like, oh, I just feel so much better about my marketing. I'm like, yes, okay, my job is done. Like, you're not worrying, you're not losing sleep
right.
over it. You're spending your effort in the right place. Like, okay, I did what I was supposed to do. But am I
Yeah.
capturing those things in a way to use for testimonials? Not yet. Not yet.
Well,
So I
and
need to get on
and
that.
the other thing would be that that's something that often comes out in the interview too, where it's like, a client of yours might not come in thinking like, well, I, I don't know, feel better about my marketing, or I have less anxiety about it, or whatever, until you start having a conversation with them and kind of connecting some of the dots. And then that realization comes. So
Yeah.
uh, there's, there's, there's a few ways to kind of get it done, but it's really about connecting a lot of different pieces and so on, and then you
Right.
get there. But those
Yeah.
emotional kind of responses and things like that are, if you think selling because somebody, I don't know, can make more money works well, like you should try when when you start, you know making those connections, right? They
Right.
work so well when speaking kind of peer to peer with your clients. So,
Right. Neil, something else I'm thinking of in this conversation about testimonials is there's actually two parts to this question I have for you. So one is
okay.
business owners who are hesitant to ask for testimonials or ask to have a conversation where they get feedback on their work. Hesitant to ask because, I don't know, they feel like they're asking too much. And then also the pressure on the person giving the testimonial, and like, is there a way to like alleviate that? I feel like there's like kind of this tension sometimes on both sides.
There is. Well, and I'm gonna quote you here on a couple of these things. What we've already said before. So you mentioned before that your clients who you're working well with want you to do well, right? And they're very often excited to do this type of thing. And I know the default for some is like, wow, that would be more work than I'm asking them to do. I'm not comfortable with that. But they want you to be successful if you're making them successful. And I think a lot of that's just born out of fear, right? Where it's like, what if I ask them and they say no? Or what if I ask them and their testimonial doesn't have all glowing remarks about how we do things, right?
Yeah.
So that's a real thing, right? Or maybe a project didn't go great. You don't want to ask them because of that, right? There's reasons. But I would say, especially if you've identified, to go back to the workshop I was talking about, you identify top clients that you want to get a story from. I would, keep the ask simple, right? Keep it casual, and they'll likely say yes. But maybe there's some convincing or something. But usually, I would say people are a lot more likely to just be like, "Oh yeah, I'll do that for you. You've been great," than the like, "No, I don't have time for you," sort of thing. The other piece there that I would put in is sometimes the client themselves, right, who wants to get a testimonial from somebody, is afraid to have that conversation because of what I touched on before. There could be some negativity there. So that's another piece that that we have found as a third party can be that having that degree of separation, right? If I talk to one of your best clients, Kristi, and they have, they love you, but there's this one thing they would love to have different. They are either not going to say it to you when you ask, right? Or soften it to the point where it's not effective. Where, if you're talking to a third party person, very often you can get deeper. You can get a little more, we'll say, truth out of those conversations.
Right. I totally agree with that. I've had that experience. A few years ago now, I hired someone to write a case study for me, and I totally saw how different it was just in terms of the client. Like, the client would tell me how much she loved working with me, but when you put a different person in that spot of doing the interview who has no stake in the game, you just get different. And honestly, luckily for that experience, there wasn't anything negative, but it's different to have a third party play that interviewer role for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say too, the negative feedback can be at least as important as the positive feedback, right? Like if there is something, and like I've had experiences where it's something simple, right? Like they didn't like the way something was being billed or something, and it's like totally fixable, and something that maybe as a business owner you didn't even consider would be a negative kind of value point for a client. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I can give 30 days on my invoices. I don't know. Like
that's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. So
Awesome.
There's
Well, this has been a really great conversation, Neil. I feel like we've covered so many valuable tips and pointers for business owners to consider when it comes to getting testimonials, and then how you can utilize those testimonials for so many different things, right? It's kind of like this market research and, help you with your own marketing and just get some really valuable insights. So I want to thank you so much for your willingness to come on the show and share your own experiences with your clients, the work that you're doing. As we get ready to wrap up here, is there any last piece of advice that you want to leave listeners with?
Yeah. So my favorite one these days is like your clients have a lot of the answers of what you're maybe struggling with from a marketing or sales standpoint. They talk to them. They'll tell you like, this is why I hired you. This is why this project was so successful for me. And that information couldn't be more valuable, like that can really grow a business. So, got to get over the fear, if there's fear there, and have that conversation. So,
yes, take the step, have the conversation. Even if you don't use it in your marketing materials, it's still good to know.
This is a great point. This is like the other big realization, right? Like when I'm talking about these reports and stuff, like a big part of that is just for internal consumption. It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I can do that, or I can tweak this, or, have insight into future marketing language, things like that. So it doesn't all go out there.
Awesome. Right. Well, Neil, as we wrap up here, how can people learn more about you and the work that you're doing?
The best way to kind of see what I'm up to is on LinkedIn. So if you search Neil K. Carroll, anybody who's on video versus audio, Neil K. Carroll, you'll find me. I always use that middle initial for search optimization, we'll say.
Yep. That makes sense. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Neil, for coming on the show. And